I'm very nervous. I'm watching for oh my God, there's the power band. Whoa. Oh my God, this is so sketchy. Woo. We're making a very fast, sketchy scooter in today's video. God, this is so sketchy. Woo! Guys, my Biffit, it's been nice knowing you. Oh my God, this is so sketchy. This thing is sketchy. And that's coming from a guy that just had a needle in his eye 2 days ago. Yeah, I had some metal fragments in my eye. I was always wearing safety goggles, but yeah, after that little drill wouldn't work, the freaking guy busted out a needle. I was shaking in my boots, and this thing is almost as bad. I wish I brought my speedometer with me. I'm thinking this thing is going like 22, 23, but with little baby wheels like that, it is so sketchy. Anyways, let's get back to the video. So you'll see here on the back, the spindle is pretty big. It's 1.25 inches. I welded a washer to the other side of it and just bolted it in with the factory piece. And the reason why it's big on a scooter like this is the tires are so hard. With a smaller spindle, it gets so much harder to turn these motors over, even with the turnbuckle over there. So the bigger the spindle, you gain more top speed. It's a lot easier to start. The only problem is you lose all your low end torque. Yeah, this thing's perfectly fine on flat ground, but to pull a hill, you would definitely have to do some kick assist. But that's why the spindle is so big. The top speed on this thing with a proper carburetor is probably 30, I'm gonna say. But that's just kind of a guess. All I know is that at the speed I've been going today, it is so sketchy. All right, so to start this thing, that's all you got to do. And to kill it, that's it. The best part is this thing's idling. I'm not on the throttle. This thing's idling at like a nice, I don't know, maybe 6 miles an hour. And we're just idling along, no throttle. And I bet you this little engine back here could probably idle for freaking hours on that tank. But heck, I mean, that's how fast we're going. With 0 throttle, just idling. Okay, this is a really good light cruising speed. Probably 12 miles an hour or so. I'm at about quarter throttle. And the best part is, it still completely folds up. Just like this, and fits right into the trunk.
All right, so the wife and I were driving along, and I found this weed eater on the side of the road, and it was free, so that's great. I took it. I immediately went on to Facebook Marketplace and found this little Mongoose scooter for 10 bucks. I went ahead and got it back to my shop. And as you can see in the background, I did take apart this weed eater motor, took all the plastic shrouding off, and started coming up with a design. So the first thing I had to do was remove the back fender / brake thing, and I just started eyeballing it, where the motor's going to go, and how it needs to go up and down and tilt like this. And we needed something strong and cheap, so that leads us to a typical door hinge. So we've got a motor, we've got a scooter, and we've got a door hinge. Now we just need a good piece of metal to start fabbing out the engine mount with. And for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some pretty thin paper. I put a hole in it right there in the middle, cut out around where the flywheel / magneto thing is. And I'm just using my greasy fingers to kind of trace and make a little outline on it to show where the holes are and where I need to cut the metal. And then I'm going to go ahead and drill out my holes. I started with a 1/4 inch and I moved up to just a hair larger, just so if the holes are a little bit off, I have a little bit of wiggle room for that motor to mount. And you could also see here where I traced around what shape it's going to be. Now, I could have gotten by with some smart measurements and just bending the steel out. I did not think that far ahead, so I wound up just taking a piece of flat bar and welding it perpendicular to my motor mount. As you can see right here, it's kind of just sticking off to the side. That's where the door hinge is going to be mounted to on the motor mount. And then, of course, the other side of the door hinge will be mounted to the scooter later on. Alright, so we've got our motor mount bolted up to the motor, we've got our little perpendicular piece lining up with the deck of the scooter, and I'm just kind of eyeballing where the spindle is going to be. Now I do want this flywheel to be as absolutely close to that back wheel as possible, that way the load isn't really trying to shear the crank apart. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and take the door hinge here in a minute, and with a Sharpie, mark out where my holes are going to be. But this is just a good layout of showing you what the motor mount looks like. So here we've got our door hinge. I did wind up finding a different one that has some rounded edges. I thought it looked a little bit nicer. So I'm just taking a felt tip pin and just marking out where the 3 holes are on that. And I'm going to go ahead and drill it out. Now, a big lesson for myself that I've taught myself over and over, and I'm the idiot that keeps producing the same mistake, is I don't clamp down my work. Yeah, and then I figured I would try it again and keep pushing my luck. So, definitely clamp down your work when your stuff's inside a drill press. Otherwise, this can happen to you. This happened on a previous project, but everything's okay. Anyways, now we know that the door hinge bolts to the engine itself. I'm going to go ahead and draw out where it's going to be on the deck of the scooter and get these holes all nice and drilled. So we had to go to the hardware store to pick up some 1/4-20 hardware and a little turnbuckle. And where that turnbuckle is going to go is somewhere towards the top of this motor mount and branch down to the scooter deck, as you see right here. That way you could raise and lower the motor, and it keeps tension on the spindle to the wheel, and you could adjust it on the fly. So if you want to use it as a kick scooter and not have the engine going, all you have to do is just turn it out a little bit. And then some weed eater motors, the actual back side of the crankcase is part of the cooling shroud. So you do have to kind of cut it apart, that way you can seal up the back of the motor, as you see with that little black piece, and get all the shrouding off. That way you have all the nice cool fins sticking out. Now, it's not completely recommended, because that does take away the cooling shroud, but it still works.
Alright, so to get this thing going, all you have to do is just kind of kick it, and you'll start going. Oh, this is so much faster! It's got a perfect cruising speed. And to make it stop, that's all you got to do. And the cool thing is, all that contraption on the back, you can pretty much put on a Razor scooter, like the small one. Being that the door hinge only has the 3 bolts, all you have to do is just kind of move over where those holes would be onto the new scooter, along with a little turnbuckle bolt. But it'll fit on just about any scooter, run the throttle up to the top, and you're ready to rock. It's just, I've done this a few years ago with a Razor scooter, and it was just way too small and even more sketchy than this. The wheels on this thing are like 5-inch diameter. I think with a scooter with like 7 or 8-inch would be a lot better. But this is one heck of a joyride. And for the final assembly, I just spray painted it and put some blue grip tape on it. Nothing too elaborate there. But if you saw this video and you're here at this point, I really hope you liked it. I hope you found it insourceful or insightful, or at least a little bit entertaining. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.